Hello, welcome to another Ascension podcast. And this time we did the last one from Bali, Indonesia, and now we're in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Yeah.
Unexpected travel, going with the flow. And interesting enough, going with the flow, you're all about synchronicities as well, can also come into play. So this is what myself and my partner Aida will be talking about on this particular show, podcast, episode. Take your pick, whichever one you would like it to be. They all fit. And we weren't planning on coming to Malaysia. That was the big thing. But when we arrived, some of the synchronicities that were you just couldn't make them up. Was just absolutely incredible, just through natural choices of what we was doing before we needed to leave Bali, and just what got delivered to us through booking hotels and flights and those kinds of things. And we'll get more into that throughout the show. So stay tuned to find out what they're all about. And so hand you over to Aida for her introduction.
Yeah. Hello, beautiful souls. Yeah, divine synchronicities is another way that the universe, God, source, your highest level self communicates with you. And oftentimes they can be so subtle that we miss them. And then other times when you start to really tune in, they can be like a smack in the face. Like the universe is going like, see what I've been trying to show you all along. And you're like, cool. And often synchronicities are really clear in hindsight. So you get to see them after the fact. And a lot of the cases are like, some of the things that we'll share with you is like after the fact, we've gone, oh my gosh, look at that. It's so obvious a link that, and I hope that you also see this from some of the things that we share with you, that you just can't help but know that this is divinely guided. And that's what all of these synchronicities is about. And however you receive your messages, synchronicities is by far the most profound way the universe communicates with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And often those synchronicities show you that you're also on the right path. Because, the challenge we're facing at the moment is our whole world's a bit topsy-turvy. So to get these synchronicities sort of grounds us in and goes, look, yes, we definitely needed you to be here. You might not know the reason or see the reason until hindsight again, but we're showing you this because to show you that that's the right move. And that's quite comforting when you're basically doing a shadow journey or a journey in the dark where you're not normally shown absolutely, anything deeper than that. We're asking our team to show us and we're being shown nothing, because this is a journey of the dark where you learn to feel the soul's growth is in the dark, in the shadow realms. So your intuition doesn't really say anything because that doesn't give you the full power of the experience of when you're doing this journey. So, it's comforting to get, it's almost like spirit going, yeah, look, we can't tell you this, but we'll give you this tiny little bit just so you know you're going on the right track and that you're going in the right direction for the next week anyway. And then there's another choice beyond that, but that'll probably be another podcast in another different location. Australia, when we're back. That's the next one, when we're back. So the first synchronicity, interestingly enough, like when we was coming to our end time in Bali, our hotel was very close to the beach, but we was always in rooms on the opposite side and we couldn't see the sunset. So I said, look, let's try and get a hotel room where we can see the sunset from the hotel room. Yes, I mean, we could literally walk to the beach and see it every night if we wanted, but it would just be something nice for the last couple of days. And me being a member of the hotel chain, I said, look, we've got to extend our stay again. Can we get a room ranging between, was it 371 and 385? So it was about 8 or 9 rooms they could have given us. And they said, yeah, look, we'll come back tomorrow and if there's one available, we'll give you one of those. So anyway, we came back and they gave us room 379, which, at the time,
lovely,
meant nothing to us. It was not, it was facing the right direction, exactly what the floor we wanted to be on and where we wanted to be. And we thought nothing of it. And then come the final few days in Bali, we couldn't extend the visa. So we knew we had to fly out to a different location. So we did a bit of research, found out one of the cheapest places to fly to and to stay and to continue to live, food, etc., was Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So we booked a flight, and the flight number was 379. The exact the exact number as the room that we were just handed to us.
Yeah.
And we couldn't predict the flight number either. It's not like we look through all the planes and the flights and go, oh, well, they're the same number, let's fly that one, because there's no guarantee that flight number goes to Kuala Lumpur, where we just chose to go. And we looked at a few other locations as well. So that's just one of many.
Yeah, coincidences.
The coincidences that once we started looking into it and noticing, it was like, okay, boom, 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 just as Aida was talking about, was these different synchronicities.
And they're always they always appear, because the most common ones are like your triple numbers, your 999s, your 888s, your 222s. Well, twos, speaking of which, like every place we stayed in Bali, and we chose to stay in 3 different places, we were always in level 2 of the hotel or the resort that we stayed in. Well, back home in Australia, our apartment's in level 2. So there was this, and then yet again in Kuala Lumpur, we're in level 2 again. And I saw on a shirt this morning, it's like, oh, look at this, 2 and home away from home. So when we came back to the room, like, okay, let's jump on and do this Synchronicity podcast. It's like, of course, the 2s.
Yeah, technically we're level 20, but it's still a 20. It's still that number 2, which has been floating around with us for this whole, so far, 6-week or 5-week trip.
Yeah.
We was only planning away for being 10 days, and it's just extended through, through circumstances beyond our, almost beyond our control. Anyway, so, that it was only when we chose to be on a different floor that we didn't end up on level 2. And it's just fascinating how these synchronicities just appear and follow you around. And sometimes they're messages from spirit, and then when you get the message, they stop showing up. So here's another couple of synchronicities in regards to the move from Bali to Kuala Lumpur. We decided to pamper ourselves the final but one day before we flew.
Yeah.
The final, the penultimate day in Bali. And we went and got, Aida got mani and pedicure. And I wanted to get one of those fish baths where these tiny little fish clean your feet. Anyway, and then a foot massage afterwards. And the lady that was giving me a foot massage, her name was Jeb, G-E-B. And that was on a name tag there. Anyway, the booking reference for the plane, for the flights, G-E-B. Those were the only 3 letters. I can't remember the numbers. Might have been 516 anyway. But anyway, the point being is the only 3 letters are the exact. And she was the one who was literally sat in front of me with this name tag here
30 minutes
for an hour, because she was the one that took me to the foot bath, and she was the one that gave me the foot massage. And so, you're getting a 379 and the GEB. The statistical odds of that being coincidence, which coincidence don't exist, by the way. If you believe in coincidences, you're just not looking deep enough into the synchronicities of the universe, and maybe that's your choice if you want to or not. And if you prefer the coincidence thing, that's fine. That is completely your choice. But the statistical odds, when you look at those things happening, tend to blow coincidence out of the water, because it just basically leaves one option that it was meant to happen that way, because the odds are just too big even for coincidence.
Yeah. That was amazing. And my lady had we win, and I'm like, oh, look, we win.
we win. Yeah.
So like all these beautiful little signs that show you're on the right path. And the other one that we noticed was the double R's, literally everywhere the last week before we flew out and before we chose to fly out.
Even in Gold, opposite one of the hotels we stayed at. That's where we first saw it. So one of the hotels we stayed at, again, it's got multiple different floors in multiple different directions, and we happen to be in one that faces. Oh no, the only way you can walk out it's on the entrance out.
Yes,
So the hotel, of all the hotels we can pick in Bali, which is thousands, literally thousands. And that was due to the fact that we couldn't extend our stay in the hotel we were in. So we had to move for a few days. And that was the one nearest. And then the entrance faces this in giant gold letters, R, which, which is also another reference to my visa, which is the resident return visa. So there's another R. So these R's were following us around. And then we look at where we're going to stay in Kuala Lumpur, and we find a nice Airbnb, and the synchronicities around that were extensive as well. And it's the Robertson residence. So there's your R's. It's just like these. So this was like a good 2 weeks leading up to, we started to get that information leading up to it. And then there was the names as well.
Yes.
So we started to, often when I see names, it tends to be either a client coming in or a reference to somebody I know and they're about to contact me. So I was getting these 3 names that sometimes you make a connection, but it's not the right connection. So I was seeing my brother's name. And, I was like, okay, well, and I'd just spoken to my sister. So I thought, well, maybe she's telling my brother that we'd spoken. Yeah. And there was another name, which was my son's stepbrother. His name's cropping up. So I thought, Joel, sometimes when I see that, it just means that he's in contact with his brother. And not that there's anything big. It's just I'm picking up on energies of my son, of something he's doing. And then the third name we saw was one of my dragon guides. So I just thought that she was connecting through, because often when you're traveling and doing that, you get they connect for protection and guidance and other things. So you got 3 very random names, very different names. So that's 3 names, by the way, that were cropping up quite consistently, enough for me to notice.
It was only a couple of days before we chose to come to Kuala Lumpur.
3 or 4 days out. And what was really interesting, those 3 names turned out to be the host and both the co-hosts of the Airbnb. Again, the synchronicities, that can't be to get 3 names exactly the exact names. Just too big a statistical odds to be a coincidence. And there's your synchronicities. And that's basically the universe going, we're going to give you the flight number, we're going to give you the booking reference, and we're going to give you the 3 names.
Of your hosts.
To really, because you're doing such a dark journey right now, I just feel like the universe and my spirit team are doing it at that level to show me that this is the right thing and the right move, to allay my fears, because when you're doing a dark journey, there's enough fear energy around you as it is. It's like,
It's when you go through, it's basically a dark night of the soul, or it can feel like a dark night of the soul because it feels so isolating sometimes, especially when you're so deeply connected with the universe or with your spirit team. And when they kind of go a little quiet and you're going through some stuff, and it's because there are some challenges that you're being encountered, that's when things go a little bit quieter. And when you are so in tune and so used to having all of this communication consistently, it's a very different thing. It's like you're constantly communicating with a partner or your family, and then all of a sudden there's radio silence. It feels like that. So when you receive these coincidences, and we're not saying, oh, look, there's that, and then there's that. Okay, yeah, well, that's obvious, right? Or, yeah, you just booked a Air Asia flight. So, yeah, there's Air Asia. So there's reticular activation, which we can do. And we had to play with 23 while we were in Bali because we saw it for a few days and we were trying to work out what 23 meant for us. And then you can start to activate your reticular activation and so we started playing with that. So there's reticular activation. Yeah, I want a new car, red Mercedes, coupe, all of the specs. And then all of a sudden you'll start to see them around, even when you've not noticed them before. That's reticular activation. There's a distinct difference between that and coincidences, or as we call them, synchronicities and divine messages from the universe. So these are when the spirit's like, I'm showing you something. All right, okay, cool, Daryl. Yeah, that's my brother's name. And I remember him mentioning that. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then he's like, hang on. And it could be a completely random thing, not even thinking about that anymore. Boom, there it comes again. And boom, there it comes again. And then you're like, all right, cool. And it's when these messages, and then all of a sudden you've got to go, I've been seeing this consistently over a number of times over very different mediums. Then it's like, all right, I need to pay attention to this. And the moment you receive that message, we're like, oh, we've made the link. We saw Daryl's all the way through Bali. We come to Kuala Lumpur, or before we even start messaging to book this Airbnb, there's one of the names, Daryl. So it's like, there you go. And then he's like, oh my God, look at the other two. So that's when you make the link, and then the synchronicities kind of disappear because you've created the link.
Yeah.
And so forth coming through. So it's like we're no longer seeing ours anywhere because we've made the link, and universe is going, good job, here you go. Oh, good job, you've seen all the twos, now you know where you're safe, and now you know where you are. It's to enable you to feel safe, and it's a trusting and full surrender to the universe, but it's also that smaller level of, or introductory level of being guided. And this is all about soul expansion and soul growth. So especially when you're so deeply connected, you're so used to receiving like communication consistently that when it goes radio silent, it's those subtle synchronicities that we connect back in. And it's like, you need to have these experiences for your soul growth and expansion. But by the way, I got goose flesh as I say this. It's like, we've got your back. It's okay.
Yeah. And the difference in like reticular activation, you focus on something at the beginning and then you see more of it.
Yeah.
Whereas, synchronicities, they crop up before you focus on it. And then for me, because I've been following the synchronicities and being guided by spirit through the physical matrix, they only need to show me twice. And I'm like, okay, seen it. But I think with the Daryl thing, that was just once. And then, and because I was like, that's just my brother. And I just let it go. It was just, it was like, okay, that's my brother's name, blah, 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 And it was a book. I saw it on a book and it was just the one name. So it's not like I was reading the synopsis or anything like that, and it's the character's name. It was just that I can't remember the title of the book, but it was literally just one big name in block writing. And that was at a book fair that just happened to be on. So it's not like we even walked into a bookshop. We went to a shopping centre where there was a pop-up book fair.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't looking for that. I wasn't looking for those names. They just cropped up in my vision, and then I'm like, okay, that's twice now, I've seen it. But with the brothers now, I just saw it the first time, I'm like, okay, that's because I spoke to my sister, so I just dismissed it immediately.
And spirit's like, no, that's not the connection.
Yeah, and that's it. But then when we booked the Airbnb and I saw the name, I'm like, oh, there we go, there's the connection. So it's immediate, like going, okay, well, is there anything else to back that up, that this is the right thing? And then the other two names, I'm like, well, you gave me three names and bam, 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 3 nails on the head. It's not like they gave me 1,000 names and I'm just picking three names out of 1,000. I was picking 3 names out of 3 that was shown up, and one's Ivy, so it's not even a common name. Well, none of the names are common considering which part of the world it was in. It was not in a Western part of the world where you get names like, you get Jack's Western names. Yeah, exactly. So, and there was, like I say, there was seen on very different mediums on the backs of cars, on number plates, and books and and random places where you wouldn't see them. You wouldn't expect to see that name. And I think that was it in regards to the synchronicities in leading up to here. Well, and down there they've dropped off a little bit.
There was that other one before we chose to fly. We just saw AirAsia. I mean, yes, we were close to an airport, but there was nothing. And then we were in a taxi back, and there was like, oh, AirAsia. And like, okay, that's where I feel that we started connecting in with like, all right, well, where can we fly? And then we ended up booking with AirAsia of all things. So it's all these little beautiful little like snippets that you get, or little breadcrumbs that you receive from the universe to say you're on the right track and we've got your back. It's okay. So it's a really beautiful thing. He's going to go charge the laptop that we're recording on.
Laptop in.
Yeah, so just making sure that we're safe. And this is something that you can ask for from the universe, like show me a sign I'm on the right track. Or oftentimes the way because we're so already in connection and have such a beautiful connection with our team, that it drops it in when we have a heads up, so to speak. And sometimes it's a heads up for things to come. And oftentimes, again, hindsight is always 20/20. Like we can always look back and go, you can make the link.
Yeah.
And I encourage you to look out for some of these synchronicities. And yes, we saw a lot of 3s. And even as we sat in the plane, like literally in front of me was like 333. I'm like, oh, how fun is that? And then on the bulkheads, it was like 333. I'm like, all right, we're on the right plane, right? Because, our Holy Trinity is, Roy, myself, and Spirit. And there's plus my own and Roy's own and everybody else's. But there's all those other numerical synchronicities which are pretty cool and that we love.
Because in kind of like we was talking about the dark journey that I'm going through, the interesting thing is because Aida's so connected, they've shut her down so that I can't ask Aida, say, look, what's going on? And she's going, but I'm not getting anything either. What the hell's going on? And it's like, look, you're not getting anything because they don't want me to see anything. And I've tried my hardest to tune into this journey. And when you're going through a really powerful soul growth, your intuition sort of goes, no, we can't tell you anything because the only way to grow is through the darkness. You think about a seed of any plant, it will grow through the darkness first before it crops up. And even then, as the tree plant gets bigger, its roots get bigger first. It grows the roots first, then because it has to grow that stability before that massive growth. So in a way, I'm enjoying this darkness because I know I'm growing my roots, which means then my outer reality, once this journey is finalized and complete, it will grow massively. And I know the things that I'm manifesting. So the things that will come after this powerful journey, and it's teaching me to trust even stronger. It's teaching me more patience. It's teaching me to go, you know what, I trust that I've got the financial backing for these extra 20 days so far. And so when you follow that, at no point I've really worried about money ever. I mean, yeah, we've tried to budget accordingly, but then at times we've gone, well, there's too much budgeting and we end up in a bad place that we don't want to stay in. And then it's like, well, I've got the money for this amount, so let's stay there. We've ended up in this amazing apartment that's low cost, this Airbnb apartment that's wonderful. And when we did a lot of research as well, so we also faced this from a human perspective. So we did the research, we looked at Google reviews and everything like that. And there was mixed reviews, but it wasn't particularly about this place because there's loads of Airbnbs in this particular Robinson residence, a huge block of flats with north and south suites. So there's hundreds of apartments. And so you're getting all these mixed reviews because some are looked after better than others. And so we also had to then follow the Airbnb reviews, which were all really positive. And then sometimes you've got to take that leap of faith. But trust when you take intuition. Trust intuition, when you take that leap of faith, and then the universe goes, well, actually, look, these 3 names showing you you're in the right place.
That's it. Yeah. It's so beautiful. It is a deep journey on really trusting and surrendering in the universe. And there's a fine line between going, oh, well, do whatever, sitting in that victim mode and observed mode. And then there's this full trust and surrender of the universe and taking the inspired action. Yeah. Because when, as humans, we want to know. That allows us, our ego, absolutely, have that control so that we can, we know we're safe and we can navigate everything and we've got full control. And then there's part of it's not full victim mode by all stretch. It can be like part of the next phase, which is that manifesting phase where we get to manifest our reality. But when you go through a beautiful journey, when you go through a beautiful soul expansion and growth or dark night of the soul, because they are separate, they're not necessarily the same things. But when you go through your soul expansion and journey, then the universe does need to put you in this space to just go, now you've got to trust. You don't always have to know exactly everything or the whole 10 yards. Sometimes you just get the yard in front of you. You get one step at a time. And the universe is saying trust and trust and trust. And then the more you surrender into that, the more you lean into that, the more you lean into the universe, know that you are safe and supported, both physically, in the physical realm, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and sexually, in all of those spaces. When you know you're safe and supported, the universe has always got your back. You're always safe and supported when you are tuning in. And that's that beautiful essence of what this whole journey has been about. It keeps tuning in. And we are consistently rewarded for that. And often we want physical gratification. We want to see it instantly. It's not always instant, which is why you get the hindsight. It's like, oh, those are links. Okay, perfect. I'm creating those links. So it will always play out. It's always for your greatest good. Always. You may not like it on a human perspective because it feels uncomfortable because you don't know. But isn't that the cool thing? Because often
growth is uncomfortable.
Right? Because often we like growing pains for physical growth, but often when you plan a trip, you have beginning and end, and you have a few little things planned out, and you're cool, you've managed all of that. But then things always crop up. I mean, that's part of the experience of going to other countries or other places in general, even if it's to the supermarket down the road. But this is a whole other level, really trusting in the universe. Sinking into the synchronicities.
Thousands of miles away from home. And I can't get back to Australia at this present moment in time. I mean, I can go back to my original home, which is England, but I'm making that choice not to, because I just trust that my resident return will come. Yeah. It's imminent, and I've got to trust that.
We feel that.
And if it's not, there'll be a reason why I'm feeling that, and it turned out to physically not be the case. But I'm learning to go with the flow and go, right, okay, well, if that's not the case, then I get the power to choose. Right, this is when I wanted it. It's not this then, because this is kind of what we did with Bali. In the beginning, we was holding on and waiting. Yeah. But then we came to that point where we made the choice to go, you know what, I'm not waiting anymore. I'm taking action. So my action was, do we find a way to stay in Bali, which would have meant buying flights we weren't going to use so we could extend the visa, or do we just go somewhere else? And it was quite a simplistic choice in a way that, and it's okay to be doing these dark journeys and just make a simplistic human choice. We've been in Bali for a month and I was a bit bored there. We'd done and seen everything, and we was literally just there, marching time. So let's have a change of scenery. Well, where's the cheapest place we can go? We did we looked at a few options, and we chose Kuala Lumpur, which the universe went, yes, that's definitely the right place to go, because all the synchronicities dropped in prior to and after. So they gave us a heads up, but then gave us the confirmation. And that's how synchronicities work. I actually teach a workshop on this, on how to see the synchronicities, how to interpret them, and all the intricacies around those of heads up that we miss, synchronicities that you see after the fact, and ones that you see as a heads up, and everything in between, because I've been working with this dynamic for 15 years or more. So then when you go into that expired action, you then say to the universe, going, well, this is how I want it to be. I'm not waiting anymore. I'm not waiting for you to, it's like, well, right, I want my visa this day. And then if that's not divine timing, it will always come in divine timing, no matter how much I try and command the universe. Divine timing will always be the overall. But we're seeing a countdown at the moment. But that doesn't necessarily mean a countdown of the visa. It could be a countdown for something completely and utterly frigging different. And you've always got to be open to that. And that's how you then flow and then have that that leap of faith, you get comfortable with that leap of faith. So it's like I'm seeing this countdown which ends tomorrow. I'm like, okay, so my visa's going to come tomorrow. And if it doesn't, then something else is going to drop in. And then I've got to be ready for that to drop in and then follow that. And no doubt there's probably some synchronicities that I've seen but haven't connected.
As yet.
I mean, look, we have seen the AirAsia stuff again. We literally we went to the Batak Caves, which is a popular tourist destination in Kuala Lumpur. And then the taxi that we booked back to the residence was an AirAsia taxi, but I've got AirAsia plastered all on the outside.
That was not planned. We
got
a grab.
We got grab. You can't, and it was actually a normal taxi. That obviously the guy also does grab as well, because the other grabs we had used were just normal unmarked cars. And we saw one leading up to that, didn't we? We saw someone else get picked up in an AirAsia taxi from there, and then the one that turned up and that was a normal taxi. And then the one that turns up was Grab, was an AirAsia one. So there's an AirAsia flight quite likely coming up. Now, whether it's back to the flights that we've looked, will go to Perth first before across Australia to Brisbane. So whether it's to Perth. Ideally, me personally, I feel that we are going to be, that we need to go to Perth, and I've felt that for probably a couple of weeks. Now, whether that's for your purposes or mine, so the thing with this dark journey, you get to see some of it when there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You do it in a physical realm and go through a tunnel. The light at the end of the tunnel, you're still barely able to see anything. You see about 10% of the darkness that you're in, and this is very similar. We get to see snippets now, and but still not the whole of the journey, because the journey is uncomfortable for a reason, because it forces you to change and think differently, which then becomes the habit. So the dark journey is forcing you to change your habits. And let's say, you want to be a millionaire, like in your country's currency, let's say Western currency millionaire, because we was multimillionaires in Bali. That's very, very easy. It's like $100 because of the way their currency works. So if you want to expand your wealth, you then have to expand your thinking around that. Because if you want to be a millionaire and you're still going, I don't want to buy those $2 tin of beans because it's too expensive. That's not how a millionaire thinks. It's not how a millionaire acts. So, like say, we're budgeting, but we're not going on a budget. We're looking at the best place to stay, and then going, right, okay, we feel this is a good place to stay, and we'll go and stay there. So if the universe went, yeah, look, you need to stay at this $1,000 a night hotel, but you take the leap of faith, and then 2 days later we'll back you up with the money, we'll follow that. We'll follow that guidance, because the universe never gives you anything you can't handle. So they're not going to give me a $4,000 a night hotel, because that's too far out of my current comfort zone. But $1,000, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So that, that's how that dark journey works. And so this all about synchronicities, you see how it then morphs into the darker journey again. The universe still backs you up and it still guides you. It's almost like you're like this through this dark journey, but they're holding your hand. But they'll only guide you to stop you banging into a wall.
And you don't only get these when you are going through a dark night of the soul or a soul growth or a journey. Like, you receive these every moment and every day. Every moment of every day, you'll receive some form of synchronicity or coincidence, or let's not even start on deja vu, but that's a whole other thing. But we've had some massive deja vu moments as well.
Every day throughout this whole journey.
Speak about that another time.
Yeah.
So like, these are not just when you're going through dark nights. These are like, synchronicities are always there, and they're inviting you to know that you're on the right path. They also show you when you are not on the right path. Right? So if something feels good and you're getting those synchronicities and their alignment, they'll feel good. But when they're not, the universe is going, look, I told you, and you're continuing on this pathway and it's not serving you. You'll receive those messages too. It's another way that the universe communicates with you. And
you had a really subtle message this morning, didn't you, about what to wear? And then you ignored it, and then you had to buy a scarf so you could go up the back, go into the caves.
Yes.
And sometimes it's that subtle. It actually comes across like, I don't know whether to wear this or this. And the first one you chose, you then ignore and choose someone else. And then the hindsight goes, so that was a really subtle, intuitive guidance. So the universe even guides you on things as simple as choosing your clothes for the morning, because they know where you're going, and the universe knows things that your human self isn't aware of. And so that's it. That's synchronicities, really, and how it can help you through a dark night of the soul, a soul growth journey, and life in general. Even day-to-day life. Like, we decided not to stay in a coffee shop this morning. We had already sat down, we was looking at the menu, and there was just something inside of me that said no, because the coffee probably would have been bad. And we went to the cafe next door, and the coffee was really good.
Amazing. We had a great time.
So, and there were much more friendlier staff, and it was just a whole different vibe. So, sometimes, again, trusting it for the most simplest of things, what that does, it trains you to trust your intuition, even when you're in your darkest days. So you still trust it. You still trust it.
And to know that you're never alone. Right? Know that you're never alone. One, your team's always with you. You just got to call out to them. They may not respond in the way you want, but they absolutely respond in the way you need. And same with human interaction. Right? Often we feel like I encourage you at all times, whenever you feel that you need to reach out, do. But you always get what you need. And if someone is supporting you. I mean, obviously, people always support you, right? But you don't want to be doing that from a victim mode. Please, God, help me. I don't know what I'm doing. I want someone else to tell me what to do. I mean, we get that a lot as, psychic mediums. People often just go, well, tell me what to do. It's like, my role here is to empower you to make your own decisions. Isn't that what life's about? Isn't that why we're here as human beings, to make these beautiful choices? So
yeah, we show you if you're on track or off track. And if you're off track, we'll guide you and say, right, these are the choices that's going to be more beneficial for you. You follow that, you'll be back on track. Whether that's what you want to hear or need to hear, that's entirely how you take that. We're here to deliver messages what you need to hear. We don't give you what you want to hear. That's not helpful.
No, it's egocentric too.
Yeah. But anyway, that's a whole different podcast on its own. This is about synchronicities, which I feel we've covered beautifully, because we've given you like physical world examples of literally what's happened in the last week. Well, even less than that's actually happened in the last few days. Mostly.
But if you've got questions, interact with us. We'd love to hear more across socials. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram. We're on LinkedIn as well. And also through YouTube. Add your comments below, because we'd love to hear more about how you're encountering in synchronicities. And if you'd like to learn the steps on how to connect with the universe greater, then connect with Roy and I. We offer programs and mentoring and coaching, which enables you to be more in your power.
Yeah, and like and subscribe to the channel as well, so you can receive the content when we throw it out. I mean, it has been a little bit less frequent at the moment because from day to day we don't quite know where we are or what we're doing or what we're planned and
flowing.
Yeah, we are literally having to go with the flow and off the cuff. So
that's great.
Which is, we're wanting to travel frequently, so I'm also aware that
getting a crash course.
This journey is no. Take that back.
Cancel
delete that freaking statement.
Flowing beautifully with it. We're getting a beautiful.
Yeah, we're getting a beautiful.
And that's a great way of
watch your
correcting.
Words. Yeah, watch your words. Do not use that phrase. Wow.
We're getting a beautiful.
Wow. Yeah. It's showing us how you can flow. Because let's say it's not my visa drops in tomorrow. It's an opportunity that we're have to travel somewhere else. We're already versed into doing that. It's just a logistics thing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already emigrated once. Moving across the world is just a logistic thing. You send your stuff from point A to point B. You move from point A to point B. Moving can be one of the most stressful. It's considered one of the most stressful things you can do. But if you just treat it as a logistic journey of moving from point A to point B, and your belongings go from point A to point B, and then it's just sorting everything out in the new place, it's actually quite an easy thing to do.
Maybe another podcast.
Yeah, but that's a whole new podcast as well. Learning how to go with the flow in the most stressful of things, or what are considered stressful things. Of which traveling is definitely not one of them.
No, it's quite enjoyable.
Yeah, when you look at it from that filter. So thank you for tuning in. We'll see you on the next podcast.
Yeah. Thanks, beautiful souls. Blessings.
Take care. Bye-bye.